The Armenian Genocide was the systematic destruction of the Armenian people and its identity. Before World War I, there were up to 2 million Armenians living in the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire suffered a series of losses during World War I that led them to believe that there was an Armenian rebellion. No such rebellion existed. The First World War gave Turkey the opportunity to settle accounts with the Armenian people. Armenians were rounded up and sent on death marches to the Syrian desert. Up to 1.5 million people were killed by the CUP, the ruling body of the Ottoman Empire. The first stage of the genocide was the conscription of 60,000 Armenian soldiers into the Ottoman army, where they were killed by Ottoman soldiers. On April the 24th, 1915, several hundred Armenian intellectuals and elite were arrested and murdered. This was the second phase of the Armenian Genocide. The third phase was the exile of thousands of women, children and elderly to the Syrian desert. Hundreds of thousands of people were murdered by the Turkish soldiers and the Turkish police. The others died of epidemic diseases. The fourth phase of the Armenian Genocide is the total denial by Turkish governments of mass murder. This area just next to the museum is filled with trees that have been planted by presidents, prime ministers, religious leaders from all over the world. We have Italy over here, Bulgaria, Germany, Rwanda, the President of the Republic of Poland, John Paul II. It's really tragic that the Armenian Genocide is not known around the world like the Holocaust, for example. I visited the Holocaust Museum in Riga in Latvia, and there was a room there devoted to the Armenian Genocide, and it explained how Adolf Hitler himself, trying to justify his ideas and proposals for the genocide of the Jewish people, used the Armenian Genocide as an example of how people quickly forget. There is a quote from Adolf Hitler where he says, "No one talks about the Armenian Genocide." And this was in 1940. And here we have the memorial complex. This area is located high up on the hill, so you can get fantastic views of the city. As I expected, in the middle of the monument there's an eternal flame dedicated to those who were murdered. One of the reasons why I was really interested in visiting Armenia was to find out more about the Armenian Genocide. So I'm hoping that I'm going to learn a lot about the genocide. Fingers crossed that there are English displays as well. I'm going to take my time in here. The Holocaust is a part of history that I'm really interested in, and yeah, I know very little about the Armenian Genocide. It's a very sombre atmosphere. There are tourists here, but everyone is being very quiet, and the haunting music that's playing in the memorial garden and in the actual memorial itself just adds to this atmosphere. Now there's one more thing I want to look at before I go to the museum. Apparently there's some kind of monument just at the other side of these gardens, so I'm going to take a look at that and then head inside the actual museum itself. This statue is called Mother Rising Out of the Ashes, and it's a memorial to those who perished, survived and escaped the 1915 genocide. It's a reminder of the indignities perpetrated on the Armenian people who stood resolute in their Christian faith and heritage. And it's a replica of a statue that's in the museum in Los Angeles. The first two sections of the museum describe how important the Armenians were to the Ottoman Empire. By the time they get here, it explains how the Armenians were treated as second-class citizens. The first wave of massacres happened in 1895, the Hamidian massacres. Here we have pictures of Armenians that actually survived. 300,000 people were killed. Well, I've just spent a couple of hours in the museum. A lot of reading to do. My brain's hurting a little bit. And one of the things that really became apparent was just the similarities between the Armenian genocide and the Holocaust. The reasons why it happened, the way that people were treated. When the Ottoman Empire began to collapse, they needed a scapegoat, and the Armenians were a convenient scapegoat. Some of the stories that you read of the people that were sent on the death marches to the Syrian deserts are just horrific. The fact that Turkey doesn't recognise the genocide is very dangerous. If a genocide is not recognised, there's always a danger it can happen again. You must come here if you visit Yerevan, learn about Armenia's past. It's a shocking part of history, but one that needs recognising. It's quite fitting that just behind me is Mount Ararat. It's the first time I've actually seen it. Mount Ararat used to be in western Armenia. It's now located in Turkey.